This video is a collection of what I think are 5 of the best walks around Ben Cruachan. For those of us who are reasonably fit, like a decent walk, but who aren't necessarily into climbing to the top of the mountains or doing 7 or 8 hour treks. The start of the walks are reasonably close together, just off the A85, on the basis that, having travelled all the way up to Scotland, as most people will, the last thing you want to do is spend loads more time in the car. Each walk is between 2.5 and 3.5 hours long if you don't stop, but there's a great deal to see on these walks, so you're probably going to spend much longer. That said, these walks do allow the more serious climber and walker to begin the journey, for example up Glen, Kinglass, or to the top of Ben Cruachan. I'll also be sharing some of the attractions which are quite close to the start of these walks so that you can mix it up a bit. This is just a quick overview of the walks. If you want to see them in more detail, I'll put the links to the full-length videos in the description below. All of these walks are on farm tracks or Forest Commission tracks, so the only challenges with a few of them are the gradients. So without any further ado, let's get going from west to east. So the first walk is from Inverawe to Glen, Kinglass, up the side of Loch Etive. You start, and in this case finish, at the Inverawe Forestry Commission Scotland car park. So from the A85 you want to take the old military road towards the Inverawe smokery. Just before you get to the smokery you will see a signpost for the car park on the right hand side. Out of the car park, take a right, through the second gate, and then just follow the track. As I said in the original video, the track is a bit of a roller coaster. You go up and down, with a maximum height of 90 metres on the road down to 5 metres. It's 9.4 kilometres in each direction. So that's about 11.7 miles there and back, which takes me about 3.5 hours at my steady plodding pace. As the track is predominantly along the shoreline of Loch Etive, the views are fabulous, and at about the halfway point you get a really good view of Glen Etive in the distance at the north end of the loch. You also get very good views up the glens to the back of Ben Cruachan. Once you get back to the car park, it's definitely worth giving yourself a bit of a treat and going to the Inverawe smokery, and if you like smoked salmon, it's some of the best you're likely to taste. Right, on to walk number 2, which is another cracking walk. For anyone wanting to walk up to the peak of Ben Cruachan and the other mountains, the fastest way up the hill is from the railway station opposite Cruachan Power Station, but that does go straight up the hill. This is a much more relaxed walk and takes us up the service road from the village of Loch Mhoille opposite Conan's Kirk up to the dam which provides the water for the Ben Cruachan Power Station. The views from the service road and eventually the dam to Loch Mhoille are absolutely magnificent, and the service road has the benefit that even when it's been snowing you can still get up to the dam even if you're not a mountaineer. Having made the effort to get to the dam, I would recommend having a little bit of a look around the other tracks, particularly the one that goes to Brander Pass where the antenna is. There is a track which means that you can walk along the side of the Brander Pass. As you're having a look around the dam, you'll notice that there are these tunnels that bring water from the other sides of the mountain, and on the next walk we'll actually see where one of these originates. So, having taken in all the views and walked back to the road, I would strongly recommend taking a look around St Conan's Kirk, which is the church just opposite the start of the service road. Absolutely fabulous, and there's a cafe there. If you've got time left in the day, I would also recommend having a look at the Ben Cruachan Power Station Visitor Centre, and maybe even taking the trip down to the turbines in the middle of the mountain. Walk number 3 is definitely the cardio workout of the set of 5. It's the walk you want to do the day after you had a great meal at the Kilcrennan Inn or the Brander Lodge. The walk starts on the B8077, which is just off the A85, just below Castle's Farm. Rather oddly, the valley doesn't actually have a name, and the only named thing in the valley is the burn, which is Allt Mhoille. Once you start climbing, it's a fair old way to the first flat bit. The walk takes you from 44 metres above sea level all the way up to 450 metres above sea level, which is about the same as the Ben Cruachan walk. The difference here is you're doing it over a shorter distance, about 5 kilometres, and therefore the gradient is much steeper. The views back down the valley are absolutely magnificent. You've got Loch Mhoille and Kilkerne Castle. Fortunately, the herd of Highland cattle is very friendly, and when you get to the top you see the beginning of the tunnels which take the water all the way through the mountain to Ben Cruachan Reservoir. If you're a more adventurous walker, then there are 6 post markers up to the top of the ridge at the back of the valley. And if you take the small track to the east, you're at the beginning of the climb to Ben Cockle and Ben Eunuch. Once you get back down from the walk, Kilkerne Castle is about 400-500 metres away. Definitely worth a visit as it dominates the north end of Loch Mhoille. After the last 2 hill walks, time for something a little bit more relaxing. The walk up to the end of Glen also starts from the B8077, from the 2 stone bridges over the River Stray and the stream down from Ben Eunuch. The walk starts 46 metres above sea level, and the highest you're going to get is 136 metres above sea level. It's 14 kilometres there and back. However, as you'll see, I didn't get to the head of the Glen simply because of the short daylight hours. This really is somewhere you could spend all day with a picnic and exploring the river, exploring the shielings, as well as the ruins of the abandoned homesteads. There are effectively 2 parts to the walk. The first part, you walk through a nature reserve and the managed farmland with the ubiquitous herd of Highland cows, and then after a short climb you enter the wild open area of the north of the Glen. The presence of the shielings are a strong indication of the use of these areas as summer pastures, and these shielings were where the farmers would live during the summer in order to protect their cattle. I find that Glen Stray is a very unique place at the top end. It's got a very flat riverbed, and then the mountains just go up and up and up. The video and the photographs don't give you a real idea of just how steep those slopes are. And the result is a very calm, tranquil, calming place where you feel transported from the hustle and bustle of modern day life. Walk number 5 starts off at the magnificent Falls of Orchy, which are not surprisingly in Glen Orchy. For those of you who are van lifers, there are plenty of overnight stopping spots for wildlife camping in Glen Orchy. This is another walk up the hill, with the first part of the walk on a gentle gradient and the second slightly steeper up to the viewpoint. You start at about 76 metres above sea level and climb to about 400 metres above sea level. It takes me about 2.5-3 hours there and back, but again, plenty to see, plenty of reasons to take longer. First time I did this walk was when the kids were very young, and we only got as far as the halfway point, simply because the kids wouldn't be dragged away from playing in the stream. For the second part of the walk, you go through the Caledonian Forest Reserve, which are the remnants of the original forest that covered Scotland from about 7000 BC. Once you get through the reserve, the track keeps climbing and you get to about 400 metres, at which point you've got probably one of the best views of Glen Orchy and the surrounding mountains. If time allows, once you're up at the top, you can go and visit the small loch, or indeed you can go over the ridge and just have a look at Glen Stray. On the basis you can have time left over after the walks, there are quite a number of attractions in the area. On the other side of the A85 at Allt, it's worth taking a look at the Duncan MacIntyre monument on the hill with excellent views down Loch Mhoille. close to the Glen Stray and Allt Mhoille walks is Kilkerne Castle, which definitely shouldn't be missed. Neither should Conan's Kirk, opposite the start of the Ben Cruachan walk, nor indeed the Ben Cruachan Power Station tour. I've already mentioned that if you like smoked salmon, the Inverawe Smokehouse is a must, but a quick hop and a skip into Allt and you've got the Bono Iron Furnace. You've got the golf course if you fancy a bit of golf. And if you've got a day left over, I would definitely recommend going down to Kilmartin Glen and to Crinan Canal for a really grand day out. It's all good.